Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is about the request that we had from the last video as to how did I get the shader effect inside the cloner MoGraph that we made. It's quite simple actually, and I'll show you how did I do it. Having said that, let's get started guys. Okay, so let's create a cube which basic dimensions of 15, 15, 15. Let's add a cloner and drag and drop the cube inside the cloner. Under the cloner, let's change the mode to grid and put some numbers in. This is your choice here, you can just play around with it. I just want to work with the X and the Z axis. There's no particular number in this part of the thing. You can actually experiment, and I highly encourage that you try something different from mine once you get the overall idea of it. Let's put some material on this so that we understand how the cloner or the shader is supposed to work on it. Under the materials texture, I'm going to add my custom logo. No. And I need to map it correctly along the flat side of it. So the projection is flat, and I'm going to rotate it, selecting the UV to -90. And once we do fit to select, I'm going to add a shader. Go to MoGraph, Effector, Shader. Once you add the shader, by default it will add the parameter of scale. Under the shading tab, change the channel to color and drag and drop your texture inside the texture tab there. Now go to the parameter, change the scale, add position and put a rough number, maybe 65. I'm just guessing this number, but basically you can put any number you like, whatever height you want it to displace. Moving it to the shader just to be sure. Now let's animate it a bit. Go to the fall off and change the shape to a sphere. Roughly we should work with like 24 frames per second. So what I'm going to do is just change this to roughly about 100. And if you're working with 24 frames, that means it's a 4-second video. I'm going to remove that means 4 frames in the end. So for now, let's go with 96 frames. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with half a second. Half a second would be 12 frames, and we're going to make it at 0. Animate it. 12. Let's go to 12 plus 24 frames now. That means it's going to be at 36. Add a scale of 400. Animate it. Again 24. Let's add 24 frames. Keep it at 400. The last 24 frames, let's make it 0. If you press play, you should see this basic animation then. If once you have the MoGraph up and running, then the shader that we're trying to get, as in activation of the material according to the shader with the MoGraph, it's quite simple actually once we get it done. So it's triggered by the MoGraph itself, and this works under Octane really well. If you go to the viewer and you just press render, you should see basically already there running like a basic default thing. And the way this works is you have to create a material, basic material, and just drag and drop it on the cloner. Select the material, and under the emission tab, just create a black body emission, and the texture, change it to MoGraph color shader. Now the reason that this might not work is because you're supposed to go back to the cloner. Okay, at this point it's just going to show the whole thing glowing because all of it is white. So under the transform of the cloner, you have to make it black. That means at the resting state it should be 0. So now if I press play, you will see that it's activated the emission through the shader. So the effector is creating this thing automatically for us. And to truly show the output, what we can do is we can add a texture environment, and under the RGB, we can change it to a dark blue shade. Something like that. Yeah, that gives a better output. Under the black body emission, let's play with some values here. And again, I highly encourage you experimenting some numbers here. So I think I'm going to add something of a delay effector. So let's go to MoGraph, select the cloner, and select the delay effector. Under the delay effector, change the effector mode to spring. If I press play now, it does a small bouncy effect, spring effect, right? Let's change the strength to about 65 or maybe 60 or something. Again, that number is up to you. Yeah, that looks much better now. I would highly recommend you guys trying to play with it and see what kind of output you guys get. Until next time, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and please do give a comment below. Thank you guys.